Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. The show is also known as PWD Allies Podcast. My name is Brent Frey, and I'm the host. Please subscribe, share, post, whatever you got to do to stay up to date on the current videos and all the current content that is available. And that is the way to do it. Check it out on your favorite app, wherever you find it's best suited for you. Today is a great day. We have a full packed panelist, and we're going to be talking about equity in the system. This disabled person deserves a rent subsidy, and you do not. Why is that? Well, we're gonna jump into that topic today, and so stay tuned and basically submit off your questions to us.
Well, we have MJ in with us, and you, Brent, are also in BC, and I'm in BC. So the three of us here are in BC. And so three of us know of a particular MLA from yesteryear, Michelle Stilwell.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And that was one of her things that she loved to say when she killed off the bus pass, when she killed off the PWD bus pass. So it was something that was helping 99.9% of the population, of the disabled population. It was helping 99%. And she killed it off to cater to a 0.01%. Yeah. Right. I mean, it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. Those are actual numbers. She basically torpedoed the PWD bus pass that was helping 99% of the people and catered to the 0.01%. And the reason she gave for the change was, she said it's equity in the system. Equity in the system. So I killed off something that was helping 99% to cater to 0.01 for equity in the system. So that's kind of why we wanted to start with that definition today, and how you're not really respecting the definitions, I don't think. I mean, that's an extreme example, but we kind of wanted to start there.
Yeah, good example on for people following along. It's like you can have a bus pass, or you can choose to have the cash and buy groceries, go and pay for your laundry, maybe laundry detergent, whatever you want to do. But if you do that, you go without a bus pass. It's kind of like saying, well, you can have subsidized housing, or you choose to pay market rent. You can't have either one. So that's what we're going to be kind of diving into today, is equity in the system. The system is rigged to benefit who?
Yeah. And for those that don't like, the two buzzwords that you always see trotted out are equity and equality, and some people use them interchangeably. So what I wanted to do is, I actually wanted to use visual aids today, and I've turned over the visual aids to MJ, and I'm going to allow him to screen share, and we're going to go through one by one these different visual aids to show the difference between equity and equality.
Yeah. Am I going to need trauma therapy there, Neil?
What's that? Sorry?
Yeah. Am I going to need trauma therapy after
you might, yeah.
If we can maybe describe what the pictures are showing.
We're going to describe them too, just for people that are visually impaired. Yeah, I'll describe them. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just downloading the images.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought you were ready.
No. I thought I had another 2 minutes.
So it's another one of these. I'll hold the world hostage for $1 million.
And with inflation, it's now $2 million.
Yeah.
With the cost of living skyrocketing, people having to choose between paying their rent while we wait for MJ. People having to choose between paying their skyrocket rents. There's nowhere cheap to find rents in BC. BC is now apparently plagued as the most expensive province in Canada to rent. That's nothing to really be excited and celebrate for. How do we change that? Well, we're going to dive into a lot of this stuff today on ideas from our panelists, some actual photos that really, will really kind of draw right into what's going on here. I have reached out to a realtor. I'm hoping to get onto our show, Anil.
Okay.
The top realtor, Steve Sareski. He's a very known person to come onto the local media to talk about how the real estate market is really affecting Canadians right now. Talking about mass immigration is coming in, is ballooning up the price of housing. Now, how do we tackle it? Well, I'd love to get his view on it. So I'm hoping that he'll reach out to us and come on. And if not, we'll try to get somebody else on also, maybe besides him too. And I'm going to kind of dive into these things because housing is just is being treated as a commodity in the apartment rentals and stuff like that. It should never be that way.
Yeah.
I think we're getting to the point too where even if you want to rent a room with a shared kitchen and stuff, it's now starting to creep into the $1,250 price range. A room with maybe you got lucky you have your own bathroom. Maybe.
Well, Alan, out in here in BC, we were just looking at some current stats. It ranges anywhere from $1,500 to $1,700 now just for a bachelor. 300, 400.
That's
I'm
crazy.
paying $1,300 as of next month, and I don't even have enough room for a couch. I can't even put a chair in my apartment. Like, I literally have to I have to literally go single file around my bed so I don't go face over because the bed's literally.
But ODSP is supposed to be $1,368 in July.
Yes. Oh boy.
Yeah, $1,368.
Yeah, and that includes everything. Everyone watching.
Everything. Yeah.
I mean, that includes your rent, your tenant insurance if they have tenant insurance.
That sounds like easy. That sounds like Easy Street to me.
Yeah, your food, your bills. I mean, you name it. It's all in one. And the myth.
I won't see any increase. My internet's $30. It's going up to $60 if I stay with Tech Savvy. So.
Yeah, and that's the problem with we don't have enough competition in the telecommunication industry to lower the prices down.
Well, when you have the government going and allowing Shaw and Rogers to merge, right? I mean, so you got Shaw and you got Rogers, right? But you take a look at this. You got Rogers. They own Fido, and they own 2 or 3 other MVNOs. Then TELUS owns Kudo and 2 or 3 other MVNOs. And then you got Bell, right? And they all own the MVNOs.
Because Bell is Virgin Mobile and T-Mobile became Freedom Mobile, but I think Rogers owns it.
Virgin is Bell.
Fizz and Lucky Mobile, they're probably Rogers.
That's
or
Bell.
TELUS.
Lucky's part of Bell, and Chatter is Rogers.
Yeah, Chatter is Rogers. Yeah, that I know.
How are we doing with the pictures, MG?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to share them. How about that?
We just went through the exercise here at my house of reshopping for our telecom. Rogers in our neighborhood gives 1.5 gigabit they want like $150. But if you shop around, you can find there's competitors that'll do it for 70. So you call, you say you want to cancel, and then
but you also wait for the guy to knock on the door. That's what I do. Like my building always has some agent on the door, be like, "Who are you with?" I go, "Bell, you want to go to Rogers?" I go, "Not right now, no, because you have to come in my apartment, switch out the box, and then I have to return it back to Bell." So it's better for me to call Bell, be like, "Hey, I'm leaving you. Give me a loyalty program." And that's what I do. Now I'm paying $129. So when it goes up in September, I call them. They're on the phone for a half an hour, 90 minutes looking for a deal. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not switching no more. Like I'm just, and then my internet's a business expense. So it's not like, oh, I need the cheapest price. I need the price that's actually going to operate my business the way it needs to. So sometimes it's just not worth switching. Like the whole boycott.
If Bell was an option,
the whole boycott Loblaws business. I'm not doing that. I like my optimum points. Like it's just.
You do what works for you. In our neighborhood, we can't use Bell. We'd like to, but Bell has 10 megabits. That's all we can get in our neighborhood, and we're in a nice neighborhood. So our
they don't have fiber optic.
Not here. And we're in Barrie, so there's like 150,000 people here. It's enough to accommodate.
You want to hear something crazy? The place I live, the mobile home park, TELUS had wanted to come in here for almost, I think it was 10 10 years and put in fiber optic. The owner refused to have TELUS come in and do the work. But when the son took over, within within half a year, he had them in and they updated the lines. They're already ready to go.
Wow.
Right? So now we got fiber optic in this mobile home park where I'm at. And it's like, oh, by the way, do you guys know about the TELUS for Good programs since we're all on disability?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Right? It's not as fast, but it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I
had it for a while.
What I discovered in our shopping was that right now I'm on a small business plan for my cell phone. I get 100 gigabytes of data plus unlimited after that at like dial-up speed. But the 100 gigs, that's an hour of high def per gigabyte. So you could watch 100 hours of movies, just off your cell phone. And here it's 5G, so that's 250 megabits down. That's faster than their wireline. So
wow,
it's just a matter of time before we're all wireless for everything. It's coming.
Oh, it is.
But
it is.
I don't think I've had a landline in 5-10 years.
No, it's not worth it for them to.
I tell you though, I do miss the ability to be able to slam the phone down.
Yeah.
Well, actually, here's the thing: is there are adapters you can get. For example, if you want to have a home phone, to be able to go and use it through the cell phone system, and you can connect one of the old phone lines to it that has the old ringer phones, just in case you really want to have the experience again.
Yeah, there's Magic Jack. Magic Jack still exists.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
terrible, but it works. Yeah, it's
And
like
Vonage is still there. It's not like you don't like if you wanted the old fashioned phone. Because when I worked at Shopping Channel, when I worked for Shopping Channel working from home, you had to have a separate line with a headset, and not like this headset. It had to be the headset attached to the phone number.
The Plantronics, whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like they wanted the dial pad. They wanted your house to look like the call center in the building. So I remember getting Primus and Magic Jack and Vonage and all those things, and then didn't pay the bill and filed bankruptcy, and I don't have to worry about them no more. But like,
I actually
it works good. Yeah,
I still have Vonage at home. 30 something bucks for Canada US.
I
wow.
think
as I speak about Shopping Channel, the platform that hires everybody, they just message me they have jobs.
Well, there you go. Let's all work there.
It's for a company called Credit Pro. I mean, they're offering $20 an hour.
Wow.
Which is not bad, but it's also contract. So like it's not a permanent job unless you do really well.
And maybe somebody can go and tell me, how do I go and do this? Okay, maybe I got to go do it this way. I'm having issue to bringing these pictures
you could try to do it through the just through a web page. Like if you the way I found all those pictures is I just typed in equity in the system actually on Google.
And then images. I found an image. It just I can't share it in chat.
I turned over the screen share though. I don't like to enable chat, but I've got screen share enabled. So
let's try that one. Let's minimize that.
Yeah, so anyone tuning in today, probably wondering, well, what's going on? We're just
MJ doesn't know how to use a program. I mean, he's a computer guy. How about that?
There you go.
That's okay. Monday. That's Monday. It's neon letters.
Well, let's see who's going to win. Will it be Minnie or will it be MJ that can screen share the first image?
I could share my screen. Oh,
if you want to, if you're first to bat. Okay. Well, there you go. So that is the first image. So here we have. I'll explain it. We have people at a baseball game. They're standing behind a fence. We have in inequality. We have 3 people at the fence, and they're all standing on the same box. There's 3 people standing on the same box. So we have the older adult person on the left-hand side. He can see over the fence. Then we have the second child that can just barely see over the fence. and then we have the smaller child that is standing on the box but cannot
he's
see
winking
over.
through the he's winking through the hole of the
Yeah.
knot.
Cannot see over the fence, and that is the definition of equality, that they're all standing on the same box, but still you have one small child that cannot see over the fence. Then you have something called equity, and with that one you have the you have the adult parent that is not using any box because he can already see over the fence. And then you have the second child that's a bit taller. He's standing on one box. And then you have the smaller child that's standing on two boxes. So the idea is that you give somebody, the people that are most disadvantaged, you give the biggest handout to, kind of thing, or the hand up to. And so that's the difference between equality and equity in theory, as I said. So in a perfect world, and it just sounds nice on paper, in a perfect world, that sounds nice on paper, but in practice, doesn't always work that way. As we gave the example of Stillwell earlier, where her definition of equity in the system was to cater to the 0.01%. You know, and I did have another Inigo Montoya meme. I don't know if you know that one, Minnie, where it says that word does not. I don't think that word means what you think it means. You know that meme with Inigo Montoya and the Princess Bride.
Yeah, I
it's a
figured
Princess
out
Bride thing.
Yeah,
I figured out how to do it.
There's that. Oh, you got it now. Okay.
This was the first one we were looking at.
There you go. So let's just go quickly through the
that was the second one.
Okay, and so this is kind of the modernized take on equality and equity. So you can see it's kind of catering to this whole idea of, like, not only like on the first one, again, we have three boxes on equality, but then you have an adult standing on a box, you have a child standing on the same size box, and then you have somebody in a wheelchair beside a box that can't use the box, so he's situated beside the box in the wheelchair. And then for equity, you have the adults standing not standing on any box. You have the small child standing on two boxes so that she can see over the fence. And then you have a ramp. You actually have a ramp that's going up the fence, so that and the wheelchair is perched on the top of the ramp, and then the person on the wheelchair can actually see over the fence. So again, you're making things more equal and giving the hand up to somebody that's more disadvantaged. Like that's the idea between equality and equity, is you're giving more of a hand up to somebody that's more disadvantaged. And like I said, in theory, that's a great idea, but it doesn't always work that way in practice.
See, except for in BC, where they give you half a wheelchair.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, you can have half and half well.
Exactly.
Not so much.
So we can go to the next slide.
Okay, just a sec here. I'm going to pause sharing for a second, because I'm hoping, or let me just, how do I stop it? Well, I want to make sure that I'm properly sharing what I should be sharing, because I've got multiple. I all jumped into my downloads folder, so.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't download it. I kept it in the browser. I just opened the link for the image.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And here it's a very small image now. So hopefully people can zoom into it, or maybe you can zoom a bit more, MJ. I'm not sure.
Oh, here we go. We got to zoom.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's good. So on this one,
awesome.
This kind of gives you the contrast of equality versus equity versus reality. So on equality, you have the three boxes that are the same size, and everybody's standing on the same box. In equality or equity, you have the adults. You have the adult that's not standing on any box. You have the older child that's standing on one box, and you have the smallest child standing on two boxes. That's for equity. And then there's a third third pane here on the image that says in reality, this is what it actually is. And so then you have the adult that's standing on like, what is it, 7 boxes, or was it 7 or 8? I can't count. And then you have the child that you have the child that's standing on one box still, and then you have the smallest child that's actually standing in a ditch. So, or a little moat. And so that's kind of
already sounds a lot like how it is to be employed or trying to find a job. That is
and that's kind of the real distribution, the reality distribution for a lot of the time for people with disabilities, like I said, where they're catering to the 0.01% and saying that's equity, or they have like, we're again, like, this is just to start off the show, but when we are going to be talking about rent subsidies, but we all know when it comes to rent subsidies, again, they're only catering to maybe maximum 12% of the entire PWD population. So they're saying this 12%, you get a rent subsidy, and the other 88%, tough. You're stuck paying market rent. And
well, it's almost like it's almost like like when you see the convict and they stamp denied or approved on this parole, right, after being in prison for, it's kind of like that's how you got someone in an office going approved. Oh, that guy, no, he's denied subsidy. Yeah. So sorry, another 20 years, buddy.
There's another image with an apple tree, MJ. I thought that was a really good one too, because that actually brings justice into the equation, which is an important thing to bring into the equation as well.
Yeah, I like the apple tree part too. Or I mean, it's the pick of the fruit, right? It's like the branch drops, right? It's like, grab on. Well, if you can.
Yeah. So this one again, you have a leaning apple tree. It's leaning to the left, and the first pane says inequality. So you have it's leaning to the left. So the child on the left is getting 1 apple, and then the child on the right of the tree is not getting any apple. And so he's standing there and saying, "Well, where's my apple? It's not coming." So that's the example of inequality. And then you have an example of equity, where you have one child that's picking a apple from the leaning side of the tree on a smaller ladder, and where the tree is higher and it's harder to reach, the other child is standing on a higher ladder so that he or she can reach the tree because it's higher on the one side, right? And then we go down to equality, where everybody's standing on the same ladder, but the child now on the right-hand side, because the tree is leaning to the left, the child that's standing on the same size ladder cannot even reach any fruit at all. So you say it's equal, you say it's equality, but that person cannot access any fruit at all. And so the last pane, I think, is really important. It says justice, and it's got a bunch of lumber that's propping up the tree trunk, so that the tree is no longer leaning to the left. So now that the tree is straight, and now both of the children can stand on the same size ladder, and they can both reach the tree equally, because the tree is no longer leaning, and that's called justice. And I really like the idea of explaining both of those, or both the inequality, the equity, and the idea that sometimes when you're talking about equality and equity, they don't necessarily mean what you think it means. And that's when you have to bring in the word justice, and then it really makes sense. Then
I think what's really going on here. I don't know. We lost Minnie, by the way. I think what's really going on is when they use these terms, of equality and equity and all the rest of this stuff. I think they're using the antonyms on us is what really is going on.
The opposites, yeah.
Yes, they're using, they're using all the opposite meanings.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here thinking equity, but it's like, but what we're seeing is inequity and injustice, right? And what we're seeing from this equality and equity is like we're not seeing, fairness, right? It's so it's like what we're seeing here when these terms are being used is a complete opposite or misrepresentation of
it almost seems like reversed like almost like reverse psychology. It's like they're using the words to manipulate what their actual real true meaning is.
So I mean, I think that they're sitting here and playing with us is what I think really is going on. I mean, it almost feels like, when they use these terms, what we're not seeing, what's, it's just not what they say doesn't match the results of what they come up with.
Yeah.
The results are 180 degrees in reverse of what's been going on. So, I mean, to me, it's like the more they claim, equality and equity and justice, the more injustice we see, the more inequity we see, the more inequality we see, and all the rest of this.
But we're also doing it off of an already broken system.
Yes.
It's not like we burned it all down and started fresh. We didn't do that. We're
true
exactly where it is. So like earlier today on the podcast I was there talking about how I access victim compensation. Victims compensation back then wasn't acknowledging like what happened to me the way they do now. They now know it's domestic violence, it's sex trafficking, it's sexual exploitation. They know that now. They're trying now, the future people that are sex trafficked, that they're getting their credit repaired or they're getting bankruptcy or they're acknowledging that they're abusers that put things in their name and ruin their credit, they can start over. I didn't have that option in 2004. I had to figure it out. I had to find a lawyer. I had to find this person. I had to find everybody to believe me, then do the justice system. The justice is like law enforcement wasn't believing me. I had to pull together evidence. If I didn't document what happened, they assumed it did not happen. The whole tree in a forest, if no one hears it, did it make a sound? And then now, from the broken system we have, okay, now I can make progress. Now I can rebuild my life. Now I can work twice as hard to build wealth because the system wasn't set up to support me. And I'm born here. I didn't immigrate here. My family came here. They met here. They had me. I'm first generation Canadian. This system was never designed to support me in any shape or form. Plus, culturally, my parents never believed disability existed unless you were intellectually disabled, physically disabled, or missing a limb. I wasn't missing anything, so they didn't think anything was wrong with me. And then, oh yeah, they tell you it's all in your head. Where else would it be if you have a mental illness?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where else would it be? And if I'm having challenges and I'm struggling here and I need support and I have to go to the system, my family's worried about their image instead of getting me the support and stuff that I needed. So I never got the leg that I needed. Like I never, and then now, like my sister, she's been a doctor, she's graduating, all her awards. You know how many times that people think that she got the awards because she's Black? Well, no, she's 10 times better than you. She stays up at 4 o'clock in the morning and she has to get 100%. That's my little sister. She has to get 100% and she has to be smarter than you. Whether you want to be whether you want it or not, she had to win no matter what, to the point where they announced her name on the announcements for school. Where she won the gummy bear. She won the gummy bear guessing contest. You know how hard it is to guess the gummy bear thing in the jar, and my sister won?
I can imagine.
Exactly. Like, so great. Wow. There's no equality. There's none whatsoever. They're just even if there is, which generation is getting it? It's not this generation, and it may not even be the next generation. We're acting like it's going to happen tomorrow, and it's not.
MJ has a meme up. I think everybody's seen this meme before. It's from The Princess Bride, Inigo Montoya. If anybody hasn't seen Princess Bride, what are you doing with your lives? It's one of the best movies ever. But the meme is it has the swordsman Inigo Montoya, and he says, "You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means." And that's, again, when we're talking about inequity and equality, the governments are using those words and not really respecting what they mean. It's the same thing with when we talk about clawbacks. They're not respecting what a pension is, right? All that kind of it all goes and I was going to use the example of when they say in the spirit of the CRPD, the Convention for the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities, in the spirit of, well, I mean, in reality, it actually translates to, we can do whatever the heck we want. That's what it really means, right?
Neil, you know what oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This reminds me of being a kid in the 90s in a karate class.
I can't take you seriously. You look like a toy dog.
Everybody got a black belt. And it's totally against what the Japanese martial art thing is about. You're supposed to earn your place and all that. But, growing up in the 80s even, everybody got a participation ribbon. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Whether you tried or not, everybody got something.
No, my sister won.
My coach.
I had to win them. Like, I had to win something. There was no. If you saw the trophies that my sister had, up like her ankle, her knee, her hip, her shoulder, trophies. Even now, like her graduation, 15 awards, big ass trophy. Like, there was no participation in my household. Either you won or you took a nap. There was no in between.
Outside of your household, everybody gets a participation ribbon now. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And you graduate kindergarten. You graduate kindergarten now.
It makes it worthless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a Bulgarian.
And now they're doing graduation ceremonies for each year, right? I mean, it's getting. See, this is the thing. Yes.
How many times I get my hair done for graduation? That's a lot. There's no way my dad is paying for that.
I know it's getting nuts.
I had a paper receipt that I had to pay for.
It's like a celebration just to have a celebration for no reason to have a celebration.
Camp. We had Girl Guides. Every time you got a different badge level, they had a ceremony. Like, the amount of sports and stuff that there's no way. Hair, nails, every single time for a graduation. And my dad complained the whole time. That's just ridiculous.
I was in the cadet corps, and my coach was my wrestling coach was a Bulgarian from he came in the mid-70s, and they were really desperate for teachers back then, like really, really bad. They were just recruiting from everywhere. And this guy he was really talented. He thought outside the box, but he had the worst BO, and you really, really, really
that deserved a participation trophy right there.
The thing was, he would get down on the mat next to you as you're trying to do a submission lock and go, lock it, tap, and you're like, you're killing me with the Alcovalva.
Oh, wow.
I'm dying here. But point being was, even with the cadet corps, there was no participation badge. And as you did the next level, like I moved up. It took me a long time to get to Lance Corporal. But once I was there, I was up to corporal. Then I was acting sergeant. Then I was sergeant. And I think I stayed in as long as to the point where we all went to Fort Knox in Kentucky for this long trip. After that, I was like, I'm done. It's nice knowing you.
I stayed until they kicked me out.
That was what I did. I was like, okay, I don't think I can hit a higher bar here. I've seen Fort Knox. I watched Spies Like Us at their movie theater. I think I'm good. And I shot an AK-47 on the firing range and threw a live grenade. I was like, I can't top this anymore. I'm not going to go into the Army. I'm not going into the militia. So you know what? Thanks for having me. It's been a trip. Plus, we had to go to school buses. So, that was a rough trip.
But of course, back then, they'd have a roof over your head, though, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I wasn't set up to be in the military. I didn't.
No.
I was preparing for that, but diabetes took that. I couldn't do it after,
Wow.
Yeah,
type one.
I tried to join the Canadian Armed Forces. Oh,
Me
sorry.
too.
But they told me that I had a bad attitude.
So with
Wow.
me,
Can't
it's
imagine
if I
why.
can get clearance on the PTSD from my doctor and my grade 10 credits, like I had to get my GED, I could have joined and do the dental hygienist. But like, it was just this weird, oh yeah, you could if your mental illness is not the problem to join the army
Oh.
as an option of being homeless. It was just this weird thing because at the time when I was being evicted from my apartment, I was like, what am I going to do? Then someone said, how about you join the Air Force? So I went down to the office over at Young and whatever. And they're like, yeah, but you need your grade 10 and then the mental illness part, get that cleared and come back. I was like, well, this was going to take longer than I expected.
Well, what's interesting is a lot of us have kind of explored that as a career path. And
but I don't think we explored it because we want to serve. I think we explored it because our situations were bad.
Well, I wanted to serve. I come from a family that had a lot of people that served, but I think for me, thinking about equity, equality in the military, everybody's equal.
That's true.
They don't move the bar. You got to reach it. You know what I mean? Like, you dig a hole, fill it in, do what you're told, jump up and down, whatever you're told.
Climb on 5 people and make it. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
See,
exactly.
and the problem here is what we've been seeing is we've been seeing the bar being lowered over, oh, well, we can't reach the bar. Let's lower it. We don't, they can't write in cursive anymore. Let's get rid of it. They can't do this anymore.
They can't parallel park. Let's stop that. Yeah.
Right.
And driving testing, right? You don't have to. See, my son said you don't have to do a 3-point turn during your test anymore.
But there's the other side of it too. If we bring back the show to, like, for example, what I always say with the clawbacks is like, you could, when you discriminate against everybody equally, somehow it's no longer discrimination. Like, so for all of these disability income supports, whether they're in BC or all the way in Toronto, they're all kind of structured the same. So you have this elaborate mess of systemic discrimination built upon systemic discrimination, built upon systemic discrimination, built upon a pile of pink unicorns.
Right, because
that's what it is.
We're not singling you out. We're singling you all out.
We're singling you all out and saying you all have to contend with the pile of pink unicorns.
Now you're famous. You're on TV. I hope you're happy.
Well, yeah, because Neil, because government thinks it's fair and equity in the system, right? And so, well, if we treat everybody like shit right across, then it's okay, right?
If everybody's treated like shit, then that's fair and equal, and that's fine.
Right,
it's not discrimination.
Think about, in a way,
I hate to make a humor situation.
All right, you were talking a long time. One at a time. One at a time.
Let's have Patrick first.
All I was going to say is, in a way, if everybody's being treated like shit, you can accept it. It's just what it is. But when some people are getting shit and others are getting sugar, everybody's getting shit and wants sugar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's
roll my shit in sugar. Let me feel better about it.
You can have market housing, but you can have subsidized housing. Because you choose to have market housing.
Why not make it so that everyone can go and just get equal housing?
Exactly.
Right? Which would mean going and giving everyone a proper equal amount of money. Right.
I guess the other opportunity there would be, what is it that they actually pay for rent geared to income, and then give that to everybody else. If you're getting a discount of $500 a month on your rent because you're in a subsidized place, then people paying market should get an extra $500.
My thing all the time when that
wouldn't work. So the reason why I said it wouldn't work, I got in my apartment when the rent was $725 in 2007. It's market rent control.
Yeah.
As long as I'm eligible for ODSP and I don't move and my building doesn't get bought out by some bigger mega rich person, I'm paying.
Touch wood.
The increase goes with the guideline, and then ODSP now increases with inflation. So the $1,368 come July. February, my rent goes up by 1 or 2%, which is $20.
You can live with that.
Yeah, I can live with that now, but it's not like they're going to give me more money compared to housing. Like which housing and which market, which timeline, which decade? Like there's a new batch of housing that they said is affordable starting at $1,500 a month, which is okay, but they're not going to use that number. They're always going to use the cheapest number. Even the increase to inflation is the cheapest inflation they can index it to. It's not like they're indexing it to the actual Bank Rate of Canada inflation. They're choosing the cheapest one for it because they always keep the bar lower from 1995 or 98 or 1970. Like they're not updating the pricing at all.
Well, plus,
I mean,
my
Mike
biggest
Harris did it here.
But
Mike.
I was just gonna,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that my biggest thing all the time when I put out these human rights complaints is I say, like, why can't income be income be income be income be income? Like if you're going to give income exemptions, let all income be income, and then it becomes actually equitable and fair and equal. If you have your income exemptions where it doesn't matter what the income is, if all your income exemptions, if as long as income can be income, then it's fair. But to say, like in my case, like I've said before, you have a guy that's working 20 hours at McDonald's, will exempt that income as earned income, and will claw back somebody that has a survivor's pension, because we'll just say that's unearned. Well, then you're cherry picking, and then you're saying, well, this income is valid and this income is not valid. This income is valid. This income is not valid. This income is valid. This income is not.
I hear you.
See, there's another scenario too on that is, like, if the provincial government, like in British Columbia, like where MJ and Neil and myself are, our government so far, I mean, I know that the Ford government in Ontario has now indexed to inflation. The rates here still haven't been done. I have an feeling that they're going to do that, pre-election time, because it's coming in October. It's like, hey, look what we're doing, right? But try to woo the votes over. But I mean, some landlords, I mean, they're going to raise the rates. I mean, they choose. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But the law states that they're eligible this year at 3.5%. So if you get a month where, you get the notice saying, hey, 2-3 months from now, your rent's going up, and then the government doesn't give an increase that year. Now it's like you're not getting that increase in your income level per year. And you're also getting that increase from your landlords. So that now it's people in subsidized housing saying, well, if you have subsidized housing, you don't have to get a rent increase. So it's kind of like saying have and have not, but it's two sectors of an industry, right? You got the subsidized housing sector under umbrella versus the private sector, which corporate landlords own. So it's, do you do a vacancy control or rent control? And the problem now, you stand the chance that the landlords are going to now balk back and say, hey, you're going to find a way of getting that tenant out because they want to maintain their profit levels. So it's it's like you got a good apple and then a rotten apple, but then what they do is they polish up the rotten apple. And they
another thing that they're going to be starting to look at is, you got these condos and that you currently have, and the water and sewer is currently paid by the condo association for the whole complex, right? I mean, so that's part of your strata fee. Then you got maintenance, so you got this, that, and everything else.
Mine. Mine's not paid through strata.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your strata. Some,
I guess,
and the type of building you're in as well. This is the thing is, more organizations are looking at offloading their fees onto the people instead of, for example, like water, sewer. and garbage, we'll add garbage, recycling, etc., and green bin. That is now being offloaded onto you and me. Instead of it being handled at the strata level, or for example, or whatever, if you have individual bins or if you have a common bin, right? Everyone will have to put in, to the kitty to go and pay for that, right? This is how, they're looking at making it so that you pay for it instead of the organization pay for it. They're moving, everything seems to be moving to go and put it at our expense. So that means for all of us that are out here, we're seeing more fees and more levies and more costs of living go up, just being compounded. Well, the amount of money that we get is next to nil, right? I mean, if our cost of living allowance was pegged to the cost of rent increase allowance for disability, right, we would be going nowhere. We might be getting a little bit ahead in comparison to the rent because our 3.5% this past year will be compounded next year, and it does compound. Right. So, the way they're doing things here, they just deliberately make things, I don't know, they make it more difficult.
Okay.
Income. Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
The thing with income. So the thing about when I looked at Toronto, Alberta, and British Columbia, the way they treat the winnings of the lottery, it's the most annoying thing possible. So I don't remember British Columbia. Alberta treats lottery winnings 100% exempt income. So they have a thing where fully exempt, partially exempt, not exempt at all. There's 3 tiers, and they lump the income in all the different categories. Well, Toronto, Ontario, they exempt lottery winnings up to $10,000. If you're more than that, it's income.
Yeah.
While if I was on Alberta, I could win the lottery every day for the rest of my life. They'll never touch it.
But in BC, other income.
Exactly. It's other income or it's gifts. I learned to survive through the social assistance maze is to categorize your income that you have. So like when my YouTube channel, that's part of my business because it goes into the business account. But if somebody wants to buy me a coffee, depending on how they buy me the coffee, depending on what button they choose, either it's business product or it's a gift. Like when I do an honorarium for disability and race, and I'm speaking on the panel, I'm doing coaching and consulting and things like that. If they tell me they're giving me an honorarium and they write it in the email or the invoice, honorarium, it's exempt. ODSP can suck it because you can't do anything about it because it's honorarium. And I learned that honorariums on taxes, when we had CERB, they had to be a certain amount of money as honorariums so that you got it, including your income taxes, so you qualified for federal benefits. So not only are we worried about social assistance, the province doesn't operate the same way as the federal government. Is it church and state? But they're 2 different people. They just think differently. Each province is different. That you can't move from one social assistance program to another province's system. You start all over. You start all over fighting a doctor. You start all over fighting programs. You start all over fighting housing. You start all over everything. So like
you have to prove yourself.
You're living on the system forever where you are and you're stuck, or you're navigating each stage of the system until you're off of it completely.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity, Brent, because again, this show we are talking about definitions, but we're also talking about rent subsidies. So I didn't know if you wanted to offer yourself up as a case study, because I know we were talking privately about your options for having a rent subsidy or not. So I didn't know if you wanted to cover that as your own personal case study. Regarding subsidies.
I can give an example. So right now, rents are high where we live, in the building where we live right now. Like a 2 bedrooms now going for $2,150. Okay, so new people just moved in. So this is an example. It's a 1967-year-old building. It's going for $2,150. Nothing extravagant's been done. Some facelifts in the building, some modernization. For us, the case study for us is we moved in. Our rents are still high, but it's not as high as what the market will bear in our building. Okay, so we have some other new tenants who moved in just above us after we had gone away. Before we had gone away, some really awesome tenants that were living there, and their rent was actually not as high, but it was still higher than ours. So they're paying $1,750. Okay, the new tenants now are still paying $1,750. You're probably wondering, what? How does that work? If a person moved out, they should be paying more. Well, what they did was the people who moved in, they got the rent for the same price because the other tenants had given their notice in well beforehand, so that when their rent, the new rent was to take effect, it didn't take effect for the new tenants. They gave it in perfect timing. So so here's an example. So if we were to give our notice in, okay, and we would move into another unit inside of this building, our rent would be over at $2,100 to $2,150.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no way. Like, I mean, 2 PWD checks would barely time you pay your tenant insurance, because that's on top of it. BC is the law that you have to pay tenant insurance on for most landlords. I mean, there are some landlords.
Ontario's the same way. Like,
yeah,
I can't live here without proof of insurance.
Yeah, I mean, there are some landlords who don't build, who don't ask for it, but the majority now are. And then you get, if you're lucky,
if you don't have it, it's a reason for them to kick you out.
Yeah, that's right. Or they won't even rent you. Like, they need to see it right away, otherwise they won't rent you. So that's where we're at. Is there's subsidized housing, but there's a long waiting list. In my hometown where I grew up. Sure, there's a new building. There's some new buildings getting built, but here's the caveat: is that 2 PWD. If you want to move into that new building, you have to be under one file, because that's the policy. So now you get less income. Oh, but you get to pay cheaper rent. But now you get one income. Now, if you want to move out of that say that unit, and an opportunity comes up in life where, hey, your friend and you want to find an apartment in the market housing, now the government would now say, hey, well, why do you need to have 2 separate files now? See, so there's the problem. A lot of people in my neighborhood have asked me that same situation. They're in a situation where they're in a very awkward situation where they're dependent on that other basically. The government will say partner, but it's really not their partner, but they're in an abusive relationship. So if they now leave and they need to be on 2 separate files, they're going to say, oh, why are they now wanting to be on 2 separate files? Meanwhile, the other person still needs a place to live. So now they could create a huge problem. And I see that a lot of that happening, and because people are desperate, they just want cheaper housing. So I just say either, basically be an entrepreneur, work for yourself, or get the government to raise the income. Well, good luck with the government one, because there are always excuses across the country. Little peanuts here, skip a year here, or give a year, or don't even give any increase. So that's kind of where we're at. We're in a situation where there's no cheap housing in Victoria. Like, there's none. We're the highest in all.
None anywhere.
And now, if we move into subsidized housing, that's kind of what we're looking at. It's it may be cheaper housing, but now you would lose all your other benefits whatsoever, and the government goes, well, this is great.
I got some bad news too. It looks like if interest rates come down a little bit for mortgage, housing prices are going to go up, which means people have to borrow more, which means they have to charge more to rent to us. So it's a vicious cycle. Interest going up didn't help us, and interest coming down won't help us either.
Because now they tied ODSP to inflation.
Oh boy!
If it doesn't increase, it stays the same.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too. I mean, we're talking about definitions today. One of the definitions we can talk about is autonomy. Autonomy is a big one, right? And this is what you have when you don't respect autonomy. You get people that are potentially in abusive relationships. We see that a lot, especially with
the government.
I was gonna say, especially with people with disabilities, you end up with a lot of uneven or unequal relationships where maybe one side is abusive, but you get stuck in that because the governments don't respect the autonomy of each individual person, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's another part I want to quickly add on to what I was mentioning is, so with the housing providers, a lot of them are nonprofits, but they still fall under the policy of under the umbrella of the main housing provider, which is under BC. It's BC Housing, so it's still a government controlled housing entity. So here's the thing: is that you have to go where they tell you to go. I mean, you could say, yeah, these are kind of my recommendation of where I'd like to live. They can say, okay, they'll take that into consideration, but whatever housing comes available, you have to take it where they say. They'll say, okay, here's 3 places that are available. If they're not, one of them is not where you want, or the other one, or I think we talked about this before, Neil, where there was a bad situation where I think you told a little story about that, where somebody took that as an option, where they didn't want that, but they had no choice. So you had two options, 2 times. I think 3, maybe they'll make an exception 3 times.
I think it's only
it's once.
I think it's only twice they do it.
Oh, it's twice.
It's once now for Ontario.
Oh, wow.
Because when I moved in here, I moved up the list, but I had keys to here. Like I'm in the place, they're calling me and I'm in the place, trying to move my stuff in. I'm like, oh, we found you a place. I'm like, I found a place. It's like, oh, okay, then update your file if you want to be on the list. Then my uncle, so he's my great uncle. He's my grandmother's brother. So he's pretty old. He's been in the system since he's come to Canada. He got into housing. Like a couple years ago, my grandmother moved him in. But my grandmother is helping her younger brother, older brother. I have no idea. But the point is, he's like 65 or older being helped by my grandmother, who, if she's disabled, she'll never admit it because of the hip replacement. But you're basically dependent on family who have more resources than you, or they don't have more resources than you. They're going into debt. I finally got my mom to admit she's going into debt to support me sometimes, or they have the money and or it's a charity, some charity that has some budget, some funding, some grant money that they're accessing, assuming you get it. Like how some charities, like Disability and Race, they want to revamp their charity. They want to access more people and give support. So they're giving away honorariums. So the $150 they gave me, I was not expecting that kind of money. But I had to make sure they said it was an honorarium because ODSP will have questions. But that, like, depending on what government money they're getting, they're either giving it out for honorariums and surveys, or gift cards for food banks, or gift cards to Walmart. Or the people on GoFundMe, like the amount of GoFundMe that's happening right now because ODSP payment came out yesterday, and their money is gone already. And I'm like, make $1,000, because the rule in ODSP says you can make $1,000 and still keep your benefits. I don't understand how more people are not trying to do that. I get their disability stops them from doing it, but there's no rule in the policy of ODSP says you have to be an ODSP and not working at all. Like I memorized that thing. You guys know I memorized that thing. I can't find it that says to be on ODSP, you cannot be working. It fully says you can access ODSP and employment supports, or Better Jobs Ontario, or second career, or post-secondary education. Like you can access so many things inside of ODSP, and they rearranged the whole poverty reduction budget for the federal government and the provinces to get more people on social assistance to be working. And they raise British Columbia's minimum wage. They raise Ontario's minimum wage. They're literally finding you go make your own money. I don't know how many ways they have to tell it to you other than push you out of your housing. They say, go get a job.
I'm actually, I just had my first.
And not even just go get a job. You can make your own money self-employed.
I'm actually just had my first meeting for Better Jobs through Keys, which is an employment agency, because March Dimes doesn't support the Better Jobs option. So I went to another agency. So I'm just waiting to find out if I have enough points to qualify for Better Jobs. So because it used to be second career,
the 32-point system.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
I tried to qualify for second career when it first came out, and I didn't have enough points, and I had a federal debt through my college debt, so I wasn't eligible. But they've changed a lot of the rules and stuff for a Better Job. So fingers crossed, I qualify this time.
I'll cross my fingers for you.
On a future show, we're going to be having a discussion about the federal transfer payments.
Right.
Yeah, but I
Interesting.
also
What are
wanna,
those?
that's what the federal government gives all the provinces to support the disability support programs that they have provincially.
And
Oh, the
healthcare
$88 million
and everything
they
else.
said. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
like the healthcare transfer payments that each province gets from the feds. And of course, that's what's going to be a very interesting show is about accountability. Another future show that we're going to be talking about is kind of on the same kind of theme that we're talking today, but a little bit different. We're going to be talking, actually, it'll be next week, Neil. We can actually focus on that, kind of be kind of a good segue from today's show. It'll be about corporate landlords and why they don't want to rent to people with disabilities. They require.
But we don't need a whole show on that. I already know the answer.
Yeah, I know. But that's
Like-
what I'm looking forward to, because it's that's something that we'll be talking about for next show. But it's saying you need to be making X amount of money for us to rent. Meanwhile, they can say that they're going to rent to you, but then when you apply,
You know, I get where they're coming from the business perspective. I mean, you want to make sure that stress test wise, people are going to be able to carry the rent.
Exactly. I got into my apartment with a credit score of 720. I wasn't working yet. And the only reason I'm still here, I'm quiet. I don't make all the drama like the other tenants that are on disability. They're gone, except for one guy downstairs, but he'll be gone soon. He doesn't because he doesn't actually his personal hygiene and the hygiene of the apartment. The landlord can literally kick you out because you don't keep the apartment well.
Well,
So
and
like,
now, and now people
gotta. Oh, I was just gonna say, people gotta like, share, and subscribe to find out what's happening next, right?
That's right.
Well, I was gonna follow off on what Minnie was saying. When it comes to rentals, it's like they want the perfect tenant. They don't want the drama. They don't want somebody that's going to go off their bipolar medication or any other medication that they're on.
Even if you do, it's weird. So like the guy that was in the parking lot, because the way the parking lot is, you can hear echo everything. So he was in the elevator, he had his appendix taken out and whatever, and then he made a big fuss because his key for the mailbox wasn't working. But a lot of us has a key problem for the mailbox where it sticks and it doesn't work, and if it's broken,
I had the same problem in my
and all
building.
those things. And he made such a fuss, the building kicked him out.
Oh man.
Exactly. So like, even if you have an issue with the landlord, they're not going to take foul language. They're not going to take verbal anything.
Yeah.
There's a cordial, formal way of making your request in a way that they do it. And then if there's a hiccup problem, that's not like the way the mailbox is not always the landlord's responsibility. It's also Canada Post. I had to go down to Canada Post to find my mail. But if you don't have bus fare because ODSP is not enough money, then you're not going to get your mail. And then you have to wait longer for your mail. If you're waiting for your check from ODSP and caseworkers already said, we mailed you the check, it's in your mailbox, you have to find your ass to the Canada Post to find your damn check.
Then you got to find out which office it actually was taken to.
We did that. There's a number you can call. Like the Canada Post is very organized. I'm very impressed how organized they are. We found everything. They have everything. The lady had a hip. She had a hip and she's wobbly, and Canada Post distribution place where they actually sort the mail is gigantic.
I know.
The lady took 30 minutes to walk down, get my mail, bring it to me, and I'm like, you made it? Like I couldn't. The walk she did, I could never do.
In the meantime, yeah.
Exactly, that's what it felt like. It's organized, but you can't just say, "Oh, I'm only on ODSP. I can't do anything else." They don't care. They literally don't care. Like if you only get $1,368 a month and that's all you have, you can't do your laundry, can't get your hair cut, can't look presentable, they really don't care. They're not getting like sympathy points because you only get $1,300 a month. The dentist even tells me, we don't like your insurance. Go find another insurance.
Yeah.
The landlords are saying your ODSP is too little. We can't rent to you as a tenant. And it's also too, if there's something in the unit that you broke and the landlord is billing you to replace it, where are you going to find the money? Even though I could get a medical device for the air conditioner, it was $300. The air conditioner still cost me $800 plus installation to hire the guy to install it and deliver it. I still have to come up with the $500.
Oh, Man, that's crazy.
Exactly. So it's not like ODSP is giving you the money to actually buy the actual full item and thing in today's cost. They're doing 1997 costs of things. And today they really don't care. And then because they changed the policy that you can make your own money and they give you $100 plus you keep your full benefits, they feel like they lift you out of poverty. If you need more than that, they really, they're expecting you to find a way to top up what they're giving you.
Make do.
So like there's subsidy housing. Okay, fine. Subsidy housing is going to do what they do for people on subsidy, but that waiting list is decades long.
Oh yeah. 20 plus years.
I'll be dead before I qualify.
I wanted to give Dan a chance to chime in. He's been just sitting quietly, and I don't know if he's around there. Are you around, Dan? Did you want to chime in now?
Oh, hey, John.
Yeah. About window construction going on here, so I'm in and out.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll say it very briefly for you, man, and very quickly from this point of view as a person that actually did work in government, right? Like we all know as people, subsidies are a necessity. Like RGI units, we don't live in a world where that can't happen anymore right now, right? A lot of the solutions, as much as people aren't going to like to hear this, but a lot of the solutions actually take the will of the government to be able to work with everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone, and not just particular groups of everyone. So far too often, other issues, they get swept under the rug, right? For example, like just the other day, Minnie and others might know about it, but just the other day, like Toronto announced that over 5,000 people had been put into permanent housing over the last year or two, whatever it was. Many of these people were actually homeless or precariously housed here for more than 10 years. How many of them were PWD? I bet you're going to find that number just tiny fraction of who actually got housed. And the main problem that we got going on now that you never hear any of the media or any of these other all-star advocates talk about is when MPPs are getting $1,000 more towards housing than actual ODSP recipients get total to live on. It shows that they have no fucking clue what they're doing. So we need everybody to band together like we do here with these ideas. I love what I'm hearing today.
Yeah, Dan, thanks on that. Because right now, on average, and somebody probably could quote me on this, but on average, you're right on that. Because a lot of MPPs and MPs and MLAs, and depending on where you are in the country, on average, $2,500 for their shelter portion. Because they said they couldn't rent anywhere for $1,000
you can see it in the job posting for the caseworkers at ODSP. I went on Indeed and looked up the job postings. It's $51,000, $66,000 a year.
Whoa!
To apply, process your file, determine if you're eligible, issue your benefits, give you a lecture because your rent is too high. You don't
You gotta be good at saying no.
Right now, it's not like it's really weird. Like I'm the only reason I've access to things in ODSP. I understand. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I can put words together. I can write a good email to them. And I know how to talk to their supervisor. But a lot of people don't have that ability. Mm-hmm. So like right now, I don't have a caseworker. I'm really, really happy I don't have a caseworker right now. You know why? I can make a lot of fucking money right now and then tell them when I'm ready. Because nobody's looking at my file right now. Because it says caseworker to be determined. Other people will lose their mind. They can't get in contact with a caseworker. As long as nothing major changes on your file and you don't need them for an emergency situation, you're fine. You're getting exactly the same amount of money you got last month for this month. And then how I know it increases in July. Okay, great. I made sure the July amount for ODSP covers all my basic needs and 1 week of groceries. Anything else above that is carbon tax, climate action, HST, mom, dad, and grandma. And then any honorarium survey I do. I already know that. That's the plan. I'm not worried about it. But other people will freak out. And that is the weirdest thing. And it's also each office. So I get Ontario is huge. British Columbia is huge. Alberta is huge. Caseworkers, depending on what neighborhood they live in, they're miserable. They're completely miserable. And they take out their miserable anger, frustration on us. And they really shouldn't be doing. That's not in their job description. I looked on Indeed. That's not your job description. You're there to activate the policy and make sure I'm eligible and getting my benefits that I'm eligible for. But we're not even calling out the caseworkers in the office to do their job properly in their job description.
That's what I wonder though is how much of those transfer payments, those federal transfer payments, are to support the the caseworkers.
Exactly.
And all the administration. Like how much
bureaucratic
of the
yeah,
how much of it is just bureaucracy?
And how much is it going to like food banks, etc.?
Yeah.
So,
you know,
I want to quickly comment to
one
Dan again on that. Is Dan? I totally echo when you mention about RGI. I strongly think that's the way to go. Is for people to get them housed, get them unhoused, like that, to get them housed, and just make a deal with the landlords. I mean, they're going to be guaranteed to get their money, and they're going to keep good tenants. Hopefully, have good tenants. If not, to get rid of them, right? And if I could find another RGI for them and to better suit them, but
one of the things I want to bring up also is as we're talking about subsidies and quality and stuff, my worry is for people who, not so much myself because I've got a bit of wiggle room, but some people who don't, is when their rent hits the ceiling of their benefits, where their workers going, hey, you know what? You're coming up on another increase, which means you are completely, your rent is higher than the amount we're actually paying your rent to. And I'm close to that.
But they're never going to do that
now.
Like they're literally
have a solution.
They're never going to do that. Like with me in market rent. So $556 is the shelter allowance in ODSP. My rent is $960.45. You know how many times they would tell me, oh, your rent is too much. Your rent is too much. You should move. Move where for $725? Move where for $850? And move where for $906? Every year that my rent went up naturally based on Ontario government policy. And then the caseworker is like, your rent is too high. You should move. And I'm like, look, it's market rent in a good city near public transit. I'm never going to find this anywhere else in the city.
Exactly.
I'm at 1291 come July, and I'm pretty much at. And I
think that's how the other people on disability in my building got kicked out of the building, because their disability, depending on when they moved in, their disability and the cost of rent matched dollar for dollar, and they couldn't live here anymore.
So that I'm close to that. My worker said to me, she goes, you know what, your rent's going up to almost 1,300 as of July. One more, if you stay there one more year, we may have to put your benefits on hold till you find somewhere cheaper.
Yeah, and that's what.
And it's still like that's the annoying part. They say we'll put your benefits on hold to find something cheaper. They know there's nowhere cheaper.
Exactly.
They fully know there's no, like the way that caseworkers are in a bubble in their little office telling you, go find something cheaper. Where am I finding a bachelor for cheaper? And then, they say, get a roommate. So the roommate lives on a cot in my apartment with me. And we have a partition wall sharing the space, because they're not even visualizing where you live to
they have no idea that.
Sorry guys, I got a jet. I got something going on. But I'll catch up with you again.
Sorry,
sorry,
next week. No
thanks,
problem.
Patrick.
Thanks,
Sounds
Patrick.
good. Take care, guys. Cheers.
We'll see you next week.
So
I want to continue kind of on that comment, and we had gone through the same situation. And like the workers, they all live in a bubble, because it's saying, oh, well,
surrounded by pink unicorns.
Yeah, it's like you need to find.
I have a solution.
I remember a community that we lived in, and it was a friend
of
ours.
It's a solution UBI, because we know that's not happening anytime soon.
No. The real answer is that, in order to solve this housing crisis, they're going to go and say, we need to build new cities. We're going to have to build new smart cities, right? Because it's the only way they're going to solve the housing problem mathematically, is to go and start from the ground up, and instead of trying to expand in the current system, is to start from the ground up. And that's what they're going to propose next, is saying we need to build brand new cities because we need to go and solve this housing crisis in a quick hurry.
I highly doubt they're going to move my family doctor to any of these new cities that fills out every disability form that I have. Like she just told me in the last appointment, don't worry about it. I'm your best advocate. Any disability form you have, she will fill it out. To my face, she said those words without a mask. So I saw her lips were moving. Like that. Remember, we're on disability. We have doctors and healthcare providers watching our disability our entire lives, whatever the disability is. We need those healthcare providers to fill out the form. Unless we're magically moving to this magical city, we're still screwed. Like, we're literally still screwed.
We're going to be, see, the problem is this, is when it comes to all this solutions to the problems that they have been created is, yes, UABI is the only actual quick solution that can go and solve the problem for poverty for those that are disabled, right? And give us an equal shot at everything, right? I mean, rent geared to income and all the rest of this stuff, it's all sounds great, but it still comes to that point where it's like we don't own a home. We're still paying somebody else. We're still living under somebody else's whims to, if they decide, hey, I'm going to sell the place, you got to find somewhere to go. But if you own, you own, right? And the system is set up in such a way that those of us that are disabled trying to buy a house or try to buy a place to live in, well, being disabled is absolutely and completely impossible to do. Right? They've set this up so that we're stuck being renters under an arcane system where they keep going and playing this game of, oh, we'll get to you when we get to you. Well, our rent goes up and then we're forced to be homeless. Or, well, we're not quite disabled enough, but we could live in our minivan, and this is
if you didn't sell the minivan,
exactly.
feed yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you haven't sold the minivan yet, you might have.
You have too many assets.
Right.
Sell everything.
But you still can't afford the insurance to put on the minivan. So they'll go and haul the minivan away from you because you don't have insurance because you're parked on the street. And they make you homeless. So the problem comes back to they've created this situation where it's constantly circling the drain. They don't want to go and, just plug the hole and say, we've got to change.
Even Habitat for Humanity, they had a flyer on the subway the other day. The minimum income threshold to live in Yorkdale Mall is $90,000 up to $130,000. And this is Habitat for Humanity that claims homes for everybody. Like their mission is homes for and they're saying the entry level is $90,000 now.
Well, that's one of the other segments that we'll be talking about like next week on that topic, because that's going to be blow people's minds when they hear what some of these corporate landlords are asking, what the entry level is on that. I'm going to give one example on the situation right now. I'm glad we're talking about the housing stuff because I remember a community that I was living in, and Neil knows about this. Actually, I think Dan does too. But argued with the worker because the worker says, "Well, you're going to want to move somewhere where it's more expensive." I said, "I want to move somewhere where it's more accessible for me, where I can go to stores, walkable." Well, you're going to be putting yourself into harm's situation, and you're going to ask for crisis supplements. I go, you know what? I'll figure life out on my own. Well, we'll deny you. I said, you can't deny me. And I said, well, what, you found cheaper housing? There's cheaper housing if you look for it. I go, there's no cheaper housing. I said, well, I don't know what kind of bubble you live in. And she says, well, she gave an address of such and such a place, right? I said, oh, that one. A friend of ours actually was looking to maybe rent there, but he said it was all boarded up. I said, where did you find the ad? She goes, on Craigslist. I said, oh, okay. How you didn't look at a reliable source? Craigslist is a reliable source. I said, I see. So anyway, long story short.
It's not. You know, anytime I'm gonna put my number on Craigslist for a free Nintendo, my phone rang nonstop.
I looked at an apartment in Kingston. A lot of the apartments are owned by a company called Keystone Management. They're huge. I don't know if they're in any other city.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of them in Kingston. And it said on one of their buildings, they said bachelor and a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom available on their little thing that they hang off the building. So I took a photograph of the ad so I could, because when you take a photograph, you can grab text, right?
Right.
So I grabbed the text so I could look at the website, and it showed and I searched for a bachelor, and it showed a picture of his building that's actually 1 block over from mine, and I was like, how about no? Right? Like it showed where the bachelor was, and I was like, gee, should I be carrying guns in my apartment? Like, it was bad. It was all dark gray. Most of the windows had been bricked up. Like, it was like, yeah, that looks like an upscale place. $14.92 for a bachelor.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
See, and
well,
this is the thing, I mean, one of the things when it comes to the cost of housing being done right now is a lot of people don't want to admit, throughout the government industry of government across the board, regardless of party, is that the carbon tax is increasing the housing costs the cost to go and create new houses. And this is a matter of fact. And unfortunately, with all of these increases being piled on to the cost to go and get all the wood from the forest to building the house, the level of carbon tax that gets attached to all of that wood, is absolutely insane. Right?
It does. It really just escalates the prices. And landlords can't afford all the extra red tape. And so guess who they pass it on to?
Well, exactly. The problem is then you have cities creating more red tape to go and build in these cities. And, then your housing is stalled for months and years on end. Some cities, some cities is up to a year wait for no particular reason, just because, or exactly, because they like their bureaucratic red tape. And this is the problem is you can see why like in BC, the provinces are starting to say, hey, you guys are creating too much red tape. We're going to go and step in on the authority of housing because you guys have screwed
before they built a condo.
Just a sec.
Before they built a condo in my neighborhood, so like it's right on. If I tried out was building a condo right at the corner, the view that they have, one of my buildings, like depending on how the buildings are, like one of them had the view of the ravine. The building made a housing something that had a map of the neighborhood when they moved in, this weird little dollhouse map, protesting the view from the condo. The condo's there, and they're building 2 more down beside it, and they moved the abandoned house down the street. Like they picked up the house and they moved it. So like some of the houses that are boarded up, either they're gonna renovate them and then have people rent them out, like behind the subway station. And there's a sign in the window, someone was on social assistance that couldn't afford it anymore, and the city pushed them out. So even if you're a homeowner and you're on social assistance and that's your only source of income, eventually you lose your housing regardless because you're paying property taxes and then you're paying maintenance. Social assistance is not going to pay for that. So whether you're renting or a homeowner and you're on social assistance, your only source of income, you get pushed out of the market. Or some wonderful rich person come buys your property. And then like that article, the lady in Hamilton that tried to sell her house to her daughter, but she sold it below market value and she lost her ODSP in the process because she wasn't doing it properly. So like some people are just not doing the best financial decision for themselves because they're worried about ODSP. If they focus on making the best financial decision for themselves, they can actually keep themselves in the market longer, whether it's housing or buying a car or whatever it is, so they can better off their financial system. But they're fed so much bad financial planning from caseworkers. They don't double check it. They don't ask a second opinion, or they feel like it'll cost them too much money when they need that information to make the better decision to keep their housing or keep their car or keep their other assets.
Okay.
Like we're in a system that's like teaching us like we're dumb, and some of us are actually well educated. It's not like that part I don't like. I don't like being talked to like I'm 3 or I didn't actually learn. Like you don't know my job experience. You don't know the experience. Like who worked at RBC? Which one? I forgot. Neil. So Neil worked at RBC. He has a good idea what to talk about from a financial perspective. Even if that wasn't your department, I'm pretty sure you heard
it was just IT mostly.
But you probably heard people on the phone or in the elevator or something. Like that, like the level of we have knowledge, but they don't let us use our knowledge to better ourselves or better our situation at all. Like they literally don't give us programs in ODSP or PWD or Alberta to actually expand our existing knowledge.
One of the things I was talking to my kind of go-to lady in Kingston if I need resources or I don't know something and I can't Google it. Anyway, Faith was telling me that Doug Fraud has decided not to subsidize Kingston and several other cities. He's basically doing the lottery. If you've done something to impress me, I'll give you money for for housing subsidies. Kingston's not on his happy list, so we're not getting. There's anybody who's on the waiting list for, like myself, for a subsidy ain't getting it this year. We got passed over. So he's cherry picking.
That's because Ford wanted to make sure you can buy alcohol anywhere in Ontario. You do realize that. He pushed alcohol accessible everywhere.
Oh, that's going to be a dumpster fire.
Exactly.
I mean, the crime rate. He thinks the crime rate with car theft is bad now.
Oh,
he has no idea what shit show is
Every
coming down.
Brava convenience store that's open 24 hours is going to have a problem.
Yeah, Circle
if they
K
can sell
here.
alcohol.
Oh, I can just see Shoppers Drug Mart selling alcohol on the shelves. Oh, yeah.
With PC optimum points? Okay.
When I get the medication, I have a hangover. Aisle 4.
And for the record, for those that caught it, Ellen just used the term cherry picking. And for the record, cherry picking is a form of discrimination. And for whatever reason, our human rights tribunals say that cherry picking is fine. It's not discrimination. It's fine.
I have this really weird feeling that the government, these companies all need kind of like ableist training, because so many of them
But they're not going to use it. We're acting like all these sensitivity trading programs are going to use it. They're not going to use it.
No, I know they're not. It's just
I know.
Like the level of there's a gender equality pay gap. If I go into corporate anything, they're not going to pay me what I'm worth. This is why I'm self-employed. I charge what I want to charge.
Show me the money.
And I increase my prices based on whatever client I have in front of me.
You can't handle the truth.
What you're saying, Minnie, makes perfect sense. And when it comes to the education of financial education, it's not just us that are on disability that are not being taught. It's everyone else in society. There's no general consensus that financial education should be taught in school.
Oh,
right?
They changed that for Ontario. They just changed it.
They just brought it back. They just brought it back. I just saw that. Yes.
Yeah, BC.
The other 12 in BC as well. Well, that's a shock because the amount of financial literacy that there is really how many people. Let me put this way. How many people that actually have financial literacy is only people that have gotten training or forced themselves to learn. Most other people don't really have financial literacy. It's not a common thing where people truly understand how does the credit system work? How does this, that, or anything else affect your score? How do all these things benefit you? Right?
I mean, what the government to say budget better, learn to budget better.
Right.
We've come to the end of the show now, Brent. So
already
know if you wanted to do the closing comments.
Sure.
Just at the end.
But we were in mid-sentence. Wasn't MJ in mid-sentence? But
sorry,
MJ.
Give it another 5 minutes here.
Sure.
So when it comes to the financial literacy, yes, for ourselves as being disabled, we should be teaching ourselves. We have all the time in the world. Okay, we're really just sitting at home waiting to the next check. Pardon the terminology of how it really is. That's really what it is. So we have the carte blanche to go and become the University of Life and educate ourselves on what we need to educate ourselves on.
I say that every time I'm here.
Right? I know, and it's like I'm starting to get what you're saying, Minnie. I really do am, and it's like if we're not educating ourselves on how the system works, or how to go and financially educate ourselves a little better, or how to go and get ourselves.
I say it so much that I've had an agency pay me for my knowledge.
I know, right? And this is the thing is, most people that sit on disability, and I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of this pity me attitude. Yeah. And I was there. And I admit that I was there in that pity me attitude. I'm disabled. I got this. I got all these problems, blah, blah, blah. Pity me.
For me, yeah.
Right. And the truth is nobody gives a shit. Really. Let's be honest. They don't care. They'll give you the 5 minutes to the ear and then they'll go, oh, whatever. Right. Minnie, has, been on this program for, I don't know, 6 months now. and you've been talking about self-empowerment, right? And empowering ourselves. And I think, if we can take away anything from the time for you being here is telling us, hey, give your head a shake, give yourself a slap upside the head, and wake up to getting yourself becoming better. And this is where the real problem is, when it comes to being on disability, we have the time to teach ourselves. We have the time to learn. So what we should be doing is telling everyone that's disabled that's watching this or will watch this in the future is you have the time. If you got the brains and you want to use your brains, take the time to learn.
But you can also have somebody read it to you. The amount of parents I've met that supporting their adult child with a disability. When that parent dies, then what? What is the plan?
Exactly.
Who's taking care of them? What do they know how to do? Do they know how to access the bank account? Do they know who to talk to about their investments? Like my aunt with my cousin, there's no hope for him. I totally understand that because the way his disability is, either cerebral palsy or an intellectual disability, a program is going to come pick him up in a van. He's going to go to that home, and we're hoping he's going to be able to live out he's 50 years old. So like timing of how long he lives out with his disability, hoping people actually try to pay attention to, does he like raisins? Does he like his banana cut a certain way? Like it's that for him, I hate that for him because he's locked into a prison that he verbally cannot voice what he needs. And then for everybody else who has more brain than physical ability, that can turn into money. Like the level of, and I've done it. Like I've made $350. Wait a minute. Yes, $350. I should show you my invoices next time. But like we have enough of us here that business partnership, if that works for you, solo business opportunity that works for you, being a consultant. Dan's already worked in politics. He could be charging people money for things like that. Like we have things we can do. We also need to not let assistants hold us back because whatever they have to say, whatever their opinion is their opinion. I really don't care about like my caseworker's opinion. Right now, there's no caseworker on my file. Fantastic. But the backup worker is not going to make me feel bad for making decisions for my life that makes it better at all. Like whether I buy a house or I might have $10,000 in investments. If I have $10,000 in investments, say congratulations, I have $10,000 investment, not make me feel bad that I have $10,000 in investments because that money is money I have to use in my future. Or go to school or buy like whatever I need it for, or the ridiculous prescriptions my doctor wants to order. So we need more people self-educating themselves and using that knowledge to better themselves, because sitting there saying, poor me, oh, can you buy me a coffee or my PayPal or my Amazon wish list? It's actually not going to help you. It keeps you poor. It literally keeps you poor. Every time you line up in the food bank line with your cart trying to get food, and that's your daily routine for like however long until you turn 64, and you keep doing it longer, you literally don't actually get yourself out of poverty. You just access more assistance, where accessing assistance becomes your full-time job when you can use that energy to actually have a full-time job that pays you what you're worth and actually increases with inflation.
Right, exactly. And this, for those that don't have intellectual disabilities or combined and or physical disabilities, combined together, I mean, that don't have the ability to do this because there's not, for those that just have a physical disability, at this point, but still got the intellectual ability, there's, we have all the time that we can learn and we can go and teach ourselves to become better, and this is the thing that, being an ally and working together, in this community is we should be going and striving to go and make the community bigger, to go and expand the minds that are part of all of this.
Exactly. Work together.
And if we're all poor, we can't have the people that are asking for a GoFundMe donation. You realize that, right? Like,
yes. You have to have the right mindset to be able to move forward. And being poor in of itself is a mindset, right? It's a belief system as well. And, the power of, the power of your belief and the power of your thinking is something that, a lot of people aren't willing to go and examine, to go and understand, hey, if I just change my thinking and my belief, I could move a little forward and become a little, not sit here feeling sorry for myself. Right. And that's where we need to go and become better.
Absolutely. Use your abilities, whatever your abilities are, and just try to brighten your horizon and reach out to any organizations that can maybe assist you in helping you achieve your end goal, like autonomy. Like let autonomy guide the way. I mean, I have to be careful with that word autonomy because that could go different ways. But I mean, your maybe Neil, or you can maybe use that word a little bit better. I think you know what I'm mentioning on that.
I mean, this whole show has been about bastardizing definitions, though. I mean, you can bastardize a definition however you want, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I think I wanted to end the show where we started and bring up that meme with Inigo Montoya again from Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
When he says, "I don't think you know what that word means," because there's so many words of inequality and equity, and a pension can't be a pension, or like it's all a bunch of BS when you don't respect the truth of what an actual definition is. Definitions are supposed to be based on some form of reality and truth. And when you can just kind of make stuff up and have pink unicorns running around and saying, well, now that earned income privilege of a pension is a pink unicorn, so, too bad.
Have a lot of them.
And I mean, why did it become okay to disrespect definitions and say definitions don't matter? Like if you're just gonna throw out definitions and say they don't matter anymore, then what's the point?
Yeah, like Dan, it's what would you say? It's like reach for the stars, reach for your opportunity, whatever's out there. If you can achieve certain things, just go for it, right?
Oh, well, Minnie just hit the nail on the head, right? You got to use your abilities to the best that you can, right? Yeah. I'm self-taught in politics. I never went to school. I never made it past fucking grade 8, right? Like I'm self-taught. I knew I'd be in this position one day and I wanted to prepare myself, right? It's just, you got to focus no matter what you do, build the business or to own a home or whatever the case may be. One thing I will say very quickly, because it's a personal experience that happened last month, is that it took me 2 fucking weeks to get a hold of a worker. I had to reapply, okay? Because I had no other option at the time. My funds had run out. I had to reapply. It took me 2 fucking weeks to get a hold of somebody. And here in Toronto, Ontario, that's on the shoulders of Minister Parsons. So get on his ass for that kind of shit. But in the generalization of everything, I agree with Minnie that you got to use your abilities the best way you can and help share with everybody. And I want everybody to look really closely at that meme pic. It's Neil with a mustache.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yes, it is. Yes.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Can you grow out your hair and your mustache? Is that a thing? Can you do that? Because I'm pretty sure you could find the costume somewhere.
That's the classic line, though. You killed. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I like that.
I like that. He delivered it so well.
I totally like that meme.
Okay, then you can do that. You can dress up like him for birthday parties.
There you go.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
There we go.
There's your job. There's your business.
That's my money made for the month. Yeah.
You have everybody watch Princess Bride and you jump out and say all the lines and then you get paid your $300 and go home.
And you'd say, that one reminds me of Neil. Thanks for echoing that, Dan. And I do echo that back. If a person has the opportunity to reach for their horizon, if you can, I mean, go for it, right? Because I mean, and just reach out to us here on our podcast. If you want to come on and be a guest on the show and talk about your lived experience, or you're a person who doesn't have a disability, but you're a family member or somebody who has a disability, you're an ally. Come and join us and join in the discussion. If you want to be an add-on to the panel also, I mean, and chime into a discussion that you would love to share your ideas, join us. More the merrier, right? I mean, we can build things together, work together as a country, as as allies, as persons with disabilities, we all have our abilities in one way or another, our ideas, our stories. How do we change policies? Well, that could be a story in itself. It really, that comes down from government level. So yeah, it doesn't matter who's in power. It's policies, everybody. Doesn't matter which one it is. Is it housing? Is it about affordability? It doesn't matter. I mean, share your stories. Come on here, subscribe, share, like, listen to it on your favorite podcast. Reach out to Neil or myself, and we'll get you lined up on the show for sure. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. But first, I want to thank all my panelists for joining again on this lovely Monday. We'll tune in next week, and we'll catch up next week. And next week's show, just before we end, it's going to be about corporate landlords. Have you ever rented? I'll give you a little imp. Have you ever rented or wanted to rent from a corporate landlord? And I'm saying to you, your income has to be no less than $4,000 a month. That's a little sneak peek. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.